Hey there everybody, welcome back to, I don't know, whatever the heck this thing is. If you're watching this and you said to yourself, hey Jacob, this isn't the long formatted podcast that I listen to twice a week on Mondays and Fridays featuring myself and Joe, and we discuss all of the major political topics and inner workings through the lens of a libertarian or through an anarchist. And this is podcast that you should probably check out. It's in the description below. Now, yes, I did just plug my own podcast in the description of this video. You should go check it out. I'd greatly appreciate it. But the podcast actually does have some context and some relevance to this video. Yes, I have neglected this channel for a very, very long time. I do apologize. I have been focusing more on the podcast right now. And believe it or not, the podcast does take up a lot of my time and takes a lot of work to get those episodes out twice a week for us in our schedule. And there's so many stories that just I run out of time. There's not enough time in a block, or they're just too small that the relevance of the larger episode doesn't make sense to put them in. And they're too big of a story sometimes that a tweet doesn't warrant enough context or enough isn't giving my thoughts out there enough. So I'm thinking this might be a place to do that. If you enjoy it, let me know in the comments below. Shoot me an email or don't. I don't really care. So Jen Psaki is the press secretary now for the Biden administration, and as somebody who said that she's bringing back truth and honesty back into the press room and into the White House, it's been a pretty rough ride for her so far. People have been calling her out left and right on all of her BS, and the memes from her whenever she says over and over again, I'll circle back to you on that one. I'll get back to you on this one. It's pretty laughable, and they're actually pretty funny. So what I mean by it being funny with her truth and honesty back in the press room is she was recently asked about the coup attempt that went on in Venezuela and the department's and the White House's stance on that. And here's what she had to say about that. Oh boy.
Maduro last night went on the air and said that they'd arrested multiple people who were allegedly behind a coup that was backed by the United States. What is your response?
These latest accusations, like all previous such accusations, are ludicrous. As a matter of long-standing policy, the United States does not support political transitions by non-constitutional means. Political transitions must be democratic.
Yeah, no, of course we don't get involved in the political workings and the structures of other nations in an undemocratic way. No, we don't ever do that. We don't ever do regime changes like that. That's never happened. We've never done a regime change ever in the history of this nation. To quote the great arbiter of peace, John Bolton, he once said, "Don't fiddle with it. Leave it alone." You know, that's been the stance so far. I mean, you know, Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq. We've never gotten involved in their manners. Yeah, we've just mind our own business, mind our own P's and Q's, and sat quietly in the pew like a good little boy. Fiddle with anything, not gotten involved. We never did anything like that. We don't get involved. That kind of stuff. This has to be probably the most dishonest thing I've seen from her so far, and that's saying something. Because, like, first of all, if it's a lie, it's so easily refutable. A simple Google search on the history of our foreign policy, or just, just following Scott Horton on Twitter would also do the same thing as well. If it's ignorance, she's not lying and she actually believes this, then why in the world is she the press secretary for the most powerful government in the entire world, representing the most powerful man in the entire world? Like, seriously? Jen, do you honestly think that we've just mined our P's and Q's in the last decades? I mean, here's Frey Costanza putting our foreign policy perfectly.
What do you mean? They don't want us there, so we're going.
Do you honestly think that, seriously? Tell me, please. Thankfully, she didn't get thankfully, she was called out for this by this reporter who had this to say about it.
And legal.
Sorry, the U.S. has whoa. The U.S. has a long-standing practice of not promoting. What did you say? How long-standing is that? In particular, in South and Latin America, that is not a long-standing practice.
Thank goodness we have one good journalist in the room. That can't be said about this next story. So, I mean, to call the New York Times trash is a little offensive to trash because, I mean, at least with trash, you can, if it's like, you know, bottles or plastic. You can get some use out of it through recycling or through repurposing the land for different reasons. You know, they usually build parks or ski slopes on landfills, and there is a practical use for it. But for the New York Times, there's really no practical use for it. It should just cease to exist. This next headline is going to prove my point why. The New York Times says, "Don't go down the rabbit hole. Critical thinking, as we're taught to do it, isn't helping the fight against misinformation." Yeah, guys, you know that misinformation, that critical thinking, they go hand in hand. They go right together. Think critically to build something or solve a problem. I mean, that's all just misinformation. That's all just polluting the environment of intellectual thought. You know, Albert Einstein and all of his theories and contributions to science, and misinformation. I mean, how can you deny it? Elon Musk, whenever he built Tesla and sending people to the moon and to Mars, you know, all that's just misinformation that can't be trusted. Or, you know, James Holhauser, 32-game Jeopardy winning streak, broke all these records for the game show and probably the best player to ever play the game. Yeah. Don't trust anything he says, because he's just polluting the minds of all the people out there through misinformation. I mean, I know I'm being hyperbolic, I know I'm being kind of sarcastic, but seriously though, like, is that what's gonna come to right now? Because I'm gonna go on a limb and just simply say that all of those men that I just kind of mentioned in that little bit probably used a little bit of critical thinking to achieve what they did. Probably used critical thinking to achieve what they did. And is that misinformation? Like, what's the context of this? Where are we heading with this? What's the extent of it? I don't know. Critical thinking, there's nothing wrong with critical thinking. The New York Times is stupid. Don't listen to them. You keep thinking, you keep building things, you keep doing what you do. Don't stop. And just to further my point, if critical thinking is misinformation, and if the New York Times says they're not contributing to misinformation, then are the New York Times thinking critically? And if they're not thinking critically, then how can you do honest journalism? These are the things that keep me up at night. So the last thing I wanted to mention was something that I saw on Instagram this week. And when I saw it, it kind of, it hit me differently. I didn't know what to think about it because I thought it was fake at first. So one of those things that I thought I was looking at fake news, thought it was April Fool's Day. I couldn't trust my own eyes. And that, of course, was the U.S. Postal Service's mail truck design. Now, when the first thing you see this is that you think that, hey, this is not a real image. This is fake. There's no way that somebody made this. Or if someone did make that they're not fired, because this is horrible. This is awful. This is stupid. I don't like it. The old trucks were iconic. I mean, the old ones, I mean, sure, they were probably pieces of crap, but they were iconic, and they were a symbol of, I mean, I don't like the Postal Service personally, but if you do, the symbol of the Postal Service. When I saw this, I clearly thought it was fake, but even if I thought it was fake because it looks like something that Pixar would make, right? Like, if I watched Monsters University, and if Mike had a job at the Postal Service, and he drove one of these things, I wouldn't blink an eye. I think, yeah, that fits perfectly in this world. That looks completely normal to me. I think that's perfectly justifiable. I think that looks okay. The fact that it's not in a Monsters University world, the fact that it is in my world, is a bit strange. It's a bit weird. Like, I could have created something like this on my 2012 MacBook for half the cost, and it would have looked way, way better. All of the intellect and all of the great designers we have in this country, as far as car manufacturers, Tesla, Ford, GM, all these other ones, they couldn't have made something better than this. Like, this is the best we came up with. Seriously? I'm asking, seriously, the best we can come up with? I mean, this is, look, you can make the whole argument about this is what happens whenever government gets involved in stuff, and that's true, but I mean, ugh. This is bad, man. This is really, really bad. Really, all I want to talk about was just those three things. I'm still kind of working on this format a little bit. I don't know what this is going to look like in the future. This may just be a one and done thing, and if so, I mean, that's okay too. I just wanted something to do. They were itching at me, and I needed to discuss them. But seriously though, the podcast is down below. Go check the podcast out. It's something that I really do enjoy, and I look forward to every time that there's a Monday and Friday episode. And it's a pretty cool thing. You should go check it out. Lots of things that are in the works for the podcast, and I am so excited for it. If you enjoyed this, you know what to do. I mean, bell, subscribe, like if you want. I mean, if you don't, I really don't care. I don't make any money off these videos anyways. So yeah, do what you want. And until next time, take it easy.